Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. Thanks for still following along. So today I thought I would do another personal one because I have had people reach out to me with various questions. So I thought let's turn it into a podcast because I'm sure it will help other people. So if you have been following me on socials, you would have seen that in the start of this year, so the start of 2024, I gave up alcohol cold turkey and I stuck it out on my socials like, right, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And then I got really good. And then life got in the way and I got ridiculously busy. And then people were messaging me saying, hey, like, how are you going for it? You know, is everything okay? And you still going well? And then I did an update, probably only like a month or two ago. But I thought I would go into more depth as to why I did it and where I'm at now with it. So last Christmas, so in 2023, I saw that there was a Bilson's advent calendar. And it was like 24 cans of Bilson's vodka every morning when I was waking up. So I said I wanted one. I didn't necessarily think, I don't regret it. There was parts towards the end where I thought, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have done this. But I think by getting it, it's led me to where I am. So it was a Bilson's advent calendar. Usually just get like the good old Cadbury chocolate ones, but I went, nah, I want something different. Saw the Bilson's and I got that. So like awesome. Absolutely loved it. So it was a great marketing campaign. I haven't seen it this year. I'm assuming Bilson's are still doing it. But so I got a Bilson's advent calendar. So every morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's when I have to get up to get my girls ready for school, I would run to my advent calendar under the fridge, see what flavour, or open it up, see what flavour I've got, be excited about it or whatever, and then I'll stick it in the fridge. Because my girls were waking up at the same time, they knew what I was doing. So they caught on to, right, mum's getting up, she's going under the tree. So they would run out with me and get excited about to see what flavour I would get. Again, I didn't necessarily think much about it when they were doing it, reflecting on it. I'm like, ooh, that probably wasn't good. Anyway, so I had 24 cans of, I had like a can of vodka a day. I think there was like 2 flavours that I didn't like. So let's say I had like 22 cans of vodka. On top of that, I had started downing wine. So it was a warm summer, we have a pool, and my next excuse is that I got a Yeti tumbler. And I'm like, I have to put alcohol in this Yeti tumbler. So we put ice in it, wine in it, then I'd go out to the pool. And then when it was empty, my kids would go inside, fill it up, and then I'd have another one. Again, I know this is like very irresponsible parenting. Didn't necessarily think anything of it at the time. I don't consider myself, I probably wouldn't have driven, but I don't consider myself like I was pissed. Like it wasn't to that extent. But the next thing I know, that's a bottle of wine gone. And all I was doing was simply like kind of sitting in the pool, spending time with the girls while they were mucking around. So Yeti tumbler, Bilson's advent calendar. And then towards the end of the advent calendar, I'm like, oh, this isn't cool. Like, I don't think I should have done this. And then it occurred to me how much wine I was going through. So I was going between 2 to 3 bottles of wine a week. And I had been doing that for, I don't know whether it was like when I got my Yeti or when the weather started getting warm. Actually, no, I've probably done it for a lot of last year, thinking back on it. So let's say I did the majority of 2023. I don't think that's entirely accurate. I don't think I was drinking 2 or 3 bottles a week for all of last year, but there was probably a good portion of it that I was. And as I said, I didn't kind of really think anything of it. But then towards advent calendar, like towards the end of the Bilson's advent calendar, I'm like, oh, okay, like, I don't think this was a good idea. I'm setting the wrong example for my kids, yada, yada, yada. And so I went, right, I'm done. I'm going cold turkey. So I had nothing left in the house. Well, that's a lie. We had a shit ton pile of wine. We had a pile of vodka, bourbon, like we had heaps just from gifts that we had been given. I gave all of the wine to my dad. It was going to be his problem. He wanted. So I'm like, here you go. And I don't touch rum. I drink vodka, but it wasn't enough for me to drink it at home. I'd have it if I went out. So there was nothing else in the house that I would have been tempted to do. And so I went, yeah, like that's it. I need to stop. And so I went cold turkey. I probably got to maybe 4 or 5 months in, and I started to drink again. But before I kind of go into that, I guess the reasons for me wanting to stop was health. So my body, well, I was pretty exhausted. I was using it as a coping mechanism. When I had also got a blood test done to get my bloods done, my bloods were like really, really bad. Like my cholesterol probably still is. I need to go back to get that checked. But it was like really, really high. I was like 6, 7, 8. And I was on my way to, probably still am, on my way to like irreversible heart damage. Like it was like really, really bad. And to me, cholesterol was like fatty foods and like fried foods. And I don't necessarily do all that, but that's where my stress was going. And that was another reason I was drinking, is like it was a coping mechanism for many things, for personal life, but for work, for the kids, like for everything. So getting the results from my bloods kind of made me stop. My body was really sore, so I would get out of bed and I would hardly be able to walk. My feet were like so incredibly sore that I'd have to like take baby steps for like an hour or two, and until I could get enough pressure on my feet. And even then my feet were still hurting. Like, and I was playing sport as well, so my body was like physically aching. And I don't necessarily consider I'm not quite sure. I should have Googled what a definition of an alcoholic was. So I don't consider myself an alcoholic, but I could have possibly have been on my way. And alcohol definitely had a play in how sore my body was. I don't feel I had as much clarity as what I could have. I'm a very busy, full-on, always on-the-go person. And then when I get sick, I fall on my ass because that's my body telling me, hey, you didn't listen to me. We're going to plop me on your ass for like the next week. So, you know, you might listen to us next time, which I usually don't. But I don't feel that my decision-making was as good as what it probably could have been. And I guess I wasn't, with the mental side, I wasn't dealing with the issue as to why I was drinking in the first place. So it was kind of like a Band-Aid fix, I suppose. I wouldn't say necessarily it was social pressure. I'm old enough now to go, like, no. I did have a few lunches where we were known to get really, really boozy, and I was really good. I did not have any alcohol at all, which I think kind of put them off. And they didn't necessarily drink much either, but I had no problem saying, hey, no, like I'm driving, not interested. Wasn't even necessarily tempted. Like I didn't have withdrawals. I didn't consider myself having any of that. So social pressures, kind of like, no, not really. It was more the relationship. So the role it was having in my life was because, one, it had now become a habit. I'd walk in their door, I'd either get my my vodka, and then when the vodka was done, I'd get my wine, and we'll like go out to the pool. Like that was a routine, that was summer. And it was a coping mechanism for just everything, for everything that was happening in my life. And I realized that this is not setting a good example for my girls. And I remember one day waking up, you know, it was like 6, 7 o'clock, whatever it was. I think it was on a weekend because I don't think the girls were getting ready for school. They're like, would you like a glass of wine? And for me, it's like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, I need to stop. Like, this is bad. So I knew I had to set a different example for the girls and for myself as well. So I went good for, as I was saying before, 4, 5, 6 months. I can't quite remember. I did go really, really well. And then I jumped on a plane and air hostess is like, hey, would you like a glass of wine? Yep, cool, no worries. Before I know it, I was drinking it and kind of went, oh shit, I just did that. Like that, I didn't think about it. That was just kind of like process. And, you have your little glass of wine and then that was it. And it was flying to Brisbane, so it's a flight I do all the time. So that was the routine when I got on the flight. And I was going up to a conference, so I'm like, all right, well, that's happened. That's done. I don't think I had anything the next day. The day after, in that social setting, there was like free drinks and people giving drinks. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll see how I go. Like, let me test this. I haven't had alcohol for so long. Let me see what effect it's going to have, if any. Same thing happened the next morning. Woke up incredibly sore, could hardly put any pressure on my feet. I'm like, right, it's doing stuff to my body. This isn't cool. I'm not functioning very well at all. So then I'd stopped again. So I had only had small amounts. I don't consider myself, I have not been drunk. I haven't been pissed. I couldn't even tell you the last time I was so drunk that I vomited. Like, that would be like pre-children. And my eldest just turned 13. So like, it's been a long time since I've been that drunk. So I've only had 1 or 2 drinks for the past few months, I suppose, if anything. And I guess for me, it was like, right, so when I was drinking it, I wasn't enjoying it. I was just like sculling it down, and it was habit and it was routine and it was done. So now I actually learned to go, okay, I'm going to get a nice quality glass of wine and I'm going to enjoy it instead of just sculling it down. So in the event that I do have one now, I mean, I'm surrounded by vineyards, so there is really good quality wine here. So now I might just go, yep, I'll get like a small glass or half a glass or whatever, and just get a really good quality wine that I sip, and that's sometimes paired with my meal, and that's it. So sometimes I don't even do that. But now that I've found that, it's like, I'm not allowed to have alcohol. And then, some people, well, what do you want, what you can't have? And then you go back to it really quick and it doesn't last. For me, it's like, okay, well, I'll give myself to go back to having alcohol, but I don't necessarily want it. And I suppose, like last week, I went to the Pearl Jam concert. I'd be lying if I said I didn't drink then. I probably had like 3 to 4 vodkas. Again, don't consider myself drunk. For me, I think that was more of a release. I was conscious as to what I was doing. I was enjoying my drink, and it was very much in a social setting. But for me, I felt that was a release, I suppose. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just me. It wasn't like I was nervous where I was, or like it was nothing like that. I just felt like I needed that release, I guess. I think when I was in Palm Springs, I don't think I drank. I think I might have had 1. So again, like very minimal compared to where I was. But I've definitely learned to enjoy life without having that excess alcohol. I have lost weight. I have more clarity. My girls now know to not deal with things through alcohol. I can't necessarily say I've replaced it with anything. So I probably need to be mindful of like, okay, we're having a really bad day. I'm not going to have alcohol. What are we going to do instead? It's like a stinking hot day today. It's like 40 degrees. So, going for a walk is probably not an option. Maybe it's sitting on the lounge and watching a Christmas movie because it's November. Something like that. So I think that if you're using it as something, my suggestion would be that you probably need to replace those. Like, okay, instead of me going to the fridge to grab a beer or a wine or whatever, I'm going to go play with a dog or play with a cat or have a bath, have a shower, read, do something. I think you probably need to replace that habit until it's no longer a habit. So I didn't necessarily do that. So I probably still need to work on that. I didn't necessarily miss the connection I had with people. I didn't have an issue not drinking when others were around. I say, with the exception of last week, I just felt that I just needed to feel a little bit free, I suppose. But yeah, I don't have an issue. I don't have people that are pressuring me to drink when I don't want to drink. So I don't think there was any social enjoyment that I didn't miss, but I would go for like a high quality glass of wine instead of like a cheap, passion pop type of wine, which I didn't drink passion pop, but just an example. And yeah, I suppose for me, it just made me feel more positive. So in that, I'm proud of myself for like massively reducing how much I had. I have very minimal alcohol now. Like, I don't have any alcohol in the house. I still have my Yeti. I don't use my Yeti though. So, to blame the advent calendar, to blame the Yeti, that's obviously not true. I was clearly using it as a coping mechanism for all the things that were happening. But I definitely feel, I guess, more empowered to know that I don't need alcohol to cope for things. I said I probably do still need to work on what I can replace it with, but so far I haven't, and this seems to be going fine. But I think it would definitely be beneficial for me to, go play with the dogs, or, have some sort of mechanism when I am coming home stressed to do, instead of, possibly reverting back to old habits and grabbing that bottle of wine on the way home from work. And what was really funny is, like, when I used to go on a Friday it's not funny, maybe it is, I don't know, but on a Friday afternoon, the amount of people, the same people, so the people that you've dealt with all week through work, or like mums and dads that, it was like they're all at the bottle before school pickup. And that to me also got a bit, oh wow, like, look at us, we are all here, we've dealt with each other all week with work, or we know each other, or we've seen each other at school or sports or whatever. And then to see all of us on that Friday afternoon with our trolley with alcohol in it, that to me was also a bit like, oh, okay, I'm uncomfortable with this. This isn't cool. This has hit a level that I can't do anymore. And, I'm not at all saying you have to give up alcohol. You have to want to do something. You can't have somebody go, you can't have your partner go, you have to give up alcohol when you don't want to. That's not going to work. You generally have to want to do that yourself. And usually you're drinking, or you have an addiction because there is usually some past trauma that you're using the alcohol with to kind of like to numb, to put that Band-Aid effect on there. So it's not as easy as going cold turkey to, for some people it's not easy to go cold turkey, and for some people they don't want to. So, it'd be like, oh, people who have addictions, so like, ice addictions or alcohol addictions or whatever it might be, they just want to kill themselves. And it's like, well, you know what? Sometimes they're having those, those drugs to stay alive. It's the opposite. So there's so much in on that. And I'd probably, with all the training that I've received, I probably will do something on, like, addictions in the future. But don't think that somebody is, they could generally just be drinking for the sake of drinking. More likely they're probably using it to fix, to Band-Aid some sort of trauma they've had. And often it's from being younger, but obviously things can happen when you're older, and, you might have lost somebody, you might have been in a car accident, whatever it might be, and you might be feeling, a little bit depressed, and using that alcohol to, put that Band-Aid, that numbing effect on there. But, so I wasn't told to give up alcohol, I just did it. So, and I said now, I pretty well say, look, I don't drink alcohol, but, once in a while I might have a really good quality wine or something. So definitely have reduced my alcohol, and I feel so much better for it. So if there's, if I get, if you reach out to me again, you want me to, provide some tips on that with the training I've received, I'm more than happy to do that as well. But again, like, you need to want to do it. You can't have somebody tell you that you need to give up alcohol, because it's just not going to work. But so hopefully that answers the questions that I was getting about giving up alcohol, and then kind of going quiet. I didn't go quiet on purpose. It was just like hectic. Running like 3 or 4 businesses, whatever it is, and kids at school and like new school, like it just got hectic. I just never got around to it. So yeah, that is why I gave up alcohol, and now I may occasionally enjoy a good glass of wine, but that's pretty well it. And I definitely don't have the urge to, have bottles of wine in my house and, go to town. So so thank you for listening, and I'll catch you guys next time.